My stepmom said, "You're not going with us, it's for a real family." But they wanted a break in my lake house. Without me. So I came early and changed the locks. When they arrived, I said I won't let strangers in my house. Well, let's go. 10 days, that's all I had left before my vacation, and I was practically bouncing off the walls with excitement. I'm Anna, 26 years old, and I'd been looking forward to this getaway for months. Finally, I'd get to spend quality time with my family at the beautiful lake house I inherited from my great-aunt 2 years ago. The house sits about 6 hours from my apartment, right on the water. It's gorgeous there, the kind of place that makes you forget about city stress and work deadlines. I spent countless childhood summers there with my parents, back when things were simpler. Back when Mom was still alive. Mom died when I was 16. Cancer took her fast, and Dad was devastated. We both were. For a year, it was just us trying to figure out how to live without her. Then Dad met Rebecca at work. She seemed nice enough, a widow with 2 daughters, Jessica and Sarah, both college students at the time. They were older than me, which made things weird from the start. When Dad remarried, Rebecca and her daughters moved into our house. I tried to be welcoming. I really did. We were polite to each other, had normal conversations, but there was never any real warmth. It felt like we were all just playing house, pretending to be a family. What hurt most was watching Dad change. He started spending more time with Rebecca and her girls, attending their events. I felt like I was fading into the background of my own life. When I left for college in another state, part of me was relieved to get away. During college, I rarely came home. When I did, I felt like a guest in my own house. Rebecca had redecorated everything, put up photos of her daughters everywhere, and somehow my presence felt unwelcome. Not in any obvious way, she was always polite, but there were little comments here and there. "Oh, Anna. You're home again, or I didn't expect you this weekend." Small things that made me feel like I was intruding. After graduation, I moved back home temporarily to save money for an apartment. Those few months were torture. Rebecca had perfected the art of making me feel unwanted without Dad noticing. She'd make dinner for 4 people when there were 5 of us, then act surprised when I pointed it out. She'd plan family activities and forget to mention them to me. Dad never seemed to notice, or if he did, he never said anything. I was so relieved when I finally saved enough to rent my own place. Moving out felt like I could breathe again. That's when I got closer to Great-Aunt Margaret, Mom's aunt. She lived alone in that big lake house, and I started visiting her regularly, bringing groceries and keeping her company. She was in her 80s and not doing well, but she had the sharpest wit and the best stories. Those visits became the highlight of my months. When Aunt Margaret died at 92, I organized her funeral myself. Dad and Rebecca came, of course, but they seemed more interested in discussing the house than mourning. A week later, the lawyer called. Aunt Margaret had left me everything, the house and a substantial amount of money. I should sell it, I told Dad over dinner. I could buy a place closer to work. "Don't be hasty," Rebecca jumped in before Dad could respond. "That property is a gold mine. Lake houses only go up in value. Besides, we could all use it for family vacations." Dad nodded along. "Your stepmother's right, Anna. It's a smart investment. Keep it for now." So I did. I gave them a spare key, figuring they'd use it occasionally. What I didn't expect was for them to treat it like their personal vacation home. They'd go up there without asking, sometimes bringing Jessica and Sarah. I didn't mind at first. They cleaned up after themselves, and I was too busy with work to use it much anyway. But then came the incident that changed everything. I'd taken a few days off work and driven up to the lake house for some alone time. When I walked through the front door, I heard music and laughter from the back deck. Jessica was there with 6 of her friends, drinks everywhere, acting like she owned the place. "What are you doing here?" Jessica asked when she saw me, like I was the one who didn't belong. "I live here," I said, confused by her attitude. "This is my house." "Well, we're having a party," she snapped. "You're kind of ruining the vibe." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Excuse me? This is my house, Jessica. I decide who's welcome here." The tension was immediate. Her friends looked uncomfortable, and Jessica glared at me like I'd personally offended her. The party died pretty quickly after that. Most of her friends left that night, and Jessica and the remaining few left the next morning without even saying goodbye. That evening, my phone rang. "Rebecca?" "Anna, how could you be so rude to Jessica and her friends? She was just trying to have a nice time." "Rebecca, it's my house. I didn't even know they were there." "You embarrassed her in front of her friends. You could have been more understanding." "More understanding?" She told me I was ruining their party in my own house. Click. Rebecca hung up on me. After that, things got even colder. Dad stopped calling as much, and when he did, he seemed distant. I figured that was just how things were going to be from now on. That's why I was so shocked when Dad called me 3 weeks ago, completely out of the blue. Anna, honey, could you come over for dinner tonight? Rebecca and I want to talk to you about something. I almost dropped the phone. We hadn't spoken in months, not since the whole Jessica incident. I drove to their house that evening feeling nervous and hopeful at the same time. Maybe they'd finally realized how badly they'd treated me. Maybe Rebecca had come to her senses. Dad answered the door with a big smile and actually hugged me. Anna, you look great. Come in, come in. Rebecca was in the living room, and she stood up when I entered. Hello, Anna. Thank you for coming. She seemed different. Not exactly warm, but not cold either. More like she was trying to be pleasant. So what did you want to talk about? I asked, settling into the armchair across from them. Dad and Rebecca exchanged a look, and then Dad leaned forward. We've been thinking, and we miss spending time together as a family. We know things have been strained lately, and we want to fix that. We were hoping, Rebecca added, that maybe we could all go to your lake house for a vacation. All of us together, me, your father, Jessica, Sarah, and their fiancés. And you, of course. I blinked. Their fiancés? Oh, yes. Rebecca beamed. Both girls got engaged this year. Jessica to Mark, and Sarah to David. Lovely boys. You'll like them. I felt a weird mix of emotions. I was hurt that I hadn't been told about the engagements, but also genuinely excited about the vacation idea. That sounds really nice, actually. When were you thinking? Next month, Dad said. We could take 10 days, really relax and reconnect. I'd love that, I said, and I meant it. Despite everything, I missed having a family. How many people total? 7. Rebecca counted on her fingers, the 6 of us plus you. I nodded, already making mental plans. I'll need to clean the house and stock up on groceries for that many people. I spent the next 2.5 weeks preparing. I took a weekend to drive up to the lake house and deep clean everything. I washed all the bedding, scrubbed the bathrooms, vacuumed every room. I made lists of food and supplies we'd need for 7 people for 10 days. I bought groceries, toiletries, sunscreen, bug spray, everything I could think of. I even bought new outdoor furniture for the deck and some floating toys for the lake. I wanted everything to be perfect. 3 days before we were supposed to leave, I was practically vibrating with excitement. I'd taken the time off work, packed my bags, and double-checked that I had everything ready. That's when Dad called again. Anna, could you come over tonight? Rebecca and I need to discuss something with you about the vacation. Sure. Did I forget something? I think I have everything covered, but if you need me to pick up anything else, just come over. We'll talk when you get here. I drove over wondering if maybe they wanted to contribute some money for groceries or help with the planning. I was so naive. Dad met me at the door again, but this time he couldn't quite meet my eyes. Come in, Anna. Rebecca was sitting on the couch, and she didn't get up this time. Her expression was completely different from 3 weeks ago. Harder, more like the Rebecca I was used to. Sit down, she said. I sat in the same armchair as before, but something felt wrong. Dad sat next to Rebecca but kept fidgeting with his hands. So I was thinking about the menu for our first night, I started, pulling out my notebook. I thought maybe I could make that salmon dish you used to like, Dad, and Anna, Rebecca interrupted. We need to talk about the vacation. Okay, I said, still smiling. What about it? Rebecca took a deep breath. We've decided that you won't be coming with us. I laughed because I thought she was joking. What do you mean? I mean exactly what I said. You're not coming on this vacation. The smile died on my face. I don't understand. It's my house, yes. But this vacation is for family only. Real family. I felt like she'd slapped me. Real family? Dad was staring at his hands and wouldn't look at me. Rebecca, I said slowly, you invited me. 3 weeks ago, you both invited me. We changed our minds, she said with a shrug. This vacation is going to be about bonding with my daughters and their new fiancés. It's important family time and frankly, your presence would just make things awkward. Make things awkward? I repeated. It's my house. We have the key, Rebecca said simply. You can use the house after we're done with it. I turned to Dad. Are you seriously okay with this? He finally looked up, and he looked guilty as hell. Anna, maybe it would be better if what, Dad? If I let you kick me out of my own house? You're being dramatic, Rebecca said. We're not kicking you out of anything. We're just saying this particular vacation is for close family only. So I'm not close family. Dad winced, but Rebecca just shrugged again. You said it, not me. I sat there for a moment, trying to process what was happening. 3 weeks of planning, of excitement, of hoping we could fix our relationship. All for nothing. Let me get this straight, I said quietly. You want me to let you use my house that I cleaned and stocked with food I bought for a family vacation that I'm not invited to because I'm not really family? Now you're getting it, Rebecca said with what I swear was a smile. I looked at Dad one more time. And you're okay with this? He opened his mouth but no words came out. That was answer enough. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and headed for the door. Enjoy your vacation. Anna, wait. Dad called after me, but I was already outside. Rebecca's voice followed me. Don't be so dramatic about everything. I drove home shaking with rage. I sat in my apartment that night, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. My hands were literally shaking from anger. How dare they? How dare Rebecca act like I was some stranger they were doing a favor for? And Dad, God, Dad just sat there like a coward and let it happen. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. They wanted to use my house, eat my food, sleep in my beds, all while telling me I wasn't family enough to join them. The sheer arrogance of it made my blood boil. I wasn't going to let this slide, no way in hell. I spent the next day thinking about what to do. Part of me wanted to call Dad and scream at him, but I knew that wouldn't accomplish anything. Rebecca had him wrapped around her finger, and he'd proven he wouldn't stand up for me. Then I had a better idea. A much better idea. I decided to wait. Let them think they'd won. Let them make their plans and get excited about their family-only vacation. And then, right when they showed up expecting to waltz into my house, I'd give them a surprise they'd never forget. The next evening, I was scrolling through Facebook when I saw a post from Jessica that made my jaw drop. She'd written, "So excited for our family vacation next week. Finally getting some quality time with the people who really matter, without any unnecessary drama or unwelcome guests. Some people just don't know when they're not wanted." The comments were even worse. Sarah had written "Finally, just us," and Rebecca had liked the post. Even Dad had liked it. That post sealed it. They wanted to play games? Fine, I could play games too. I immediately called my friend Lisa, who's always down for anything. "Lisa, remember that lake house I told you about? Want to come up there with me next week for a free vacation?" "Hell yes." "What's the catch?" "No catch." "Well, actually, there might be some drama with my family, but I'll handle that part." "Drama?" I'm even more interested now. "What's going on?" I told her the whole story, and by the end, she was as pissed off as I was. "Those bastards," she said, "count me in. And I'll bring Mark and Jenny if you want more people." "The more the merrier," I said. "I want that house completely full when they show up." I spent the next few days reaching out to friends. By the end of the week, I had 6 people confirmed: Lisa, Mark, Jenny, Tom, Sarah, different Sarah, and Mike. They were all excited about a free lake vacation and totally on board with helping me stick it to my awful family. The day before my family was supposed to arrive, I drove up to the lake house. I'd already called a locksmith the week before and made an appointment for that afternoon. It took him 2 hours to change all the locks. I paid him in cash and got my shiny new keys. Then I went inside and cooked myself a nice dinner. I opened a bottle of wine and sat on the deck, watching the sunset over the lake. Tomorrow was going to be interesting. I barely slept that night. I kept imagining different scenarios of how things would go down. Would they be angry, confused? Would Dad finally grow a spine and stand up to Rebecca? Probably not, but a girl could hope. Around noon the next day, I heard cars pulling into the driveway. My heart started pounding. I went upstairs to the bedroom that faced the front of the house and peeked through the curtains. There they were. Dad and Rebecca in his car, Jessica and Mark in a red Honda, Sarah and David in a blue SUV. They were all laughing and talking, clearly in great moods. Rebecca was gesturing toward the house, probably telling them where everyone would sleep. I watched them gather their bags and walk toward the front door. Rebecca reached into her purse and pulled out the key. Dad was carrying a cooler, and the girls had their arms full of luggage. Rebecca stuck the key in the lock and turned it. Nothing. She tried again, jiggling it and pushing on the door. Still nothing. I could see her saying something to Dad, who set down the cooler and tried the key himself. Then they tried the back door. Same result. That's when I saw the exact moment it dawned on them. Rebecca's face went from confused to furious in about 2 seconds. She started pounding on the front door. I walked downstairs slowly, taking my time. The pounding got louder. "Anna, open this door right now," Rebecca was shouting. I opened the door but left the chain on, peeking through the crack. "Hi there," I said sweetly, "can I help you?" Rebecca's face was bright red. "Our key doesn't work." "Oh, that's because I changed them," I said casually. "These are my locks now." "You can't do that," Jessica screamed from behind Rebecca. "We have a vacation planned." "Funny thing about that, I said, still speaking in that calm, sweet tone. See, last week you told me this vacation was for real family only. And since I'm apparently not real family, I figured I shouldn't let strangers into my house. Rebecca made a choking sound. You can't be serious, Dad said, finally speaking up. Anna, we drove 6 hours to get here. That sounds like a you problem, I replied. This is ridiculous, Sarah yelled. We're your family. Are you? I asked, because last week Rebecca made it very clear that I'm not part of your real family. So why would I let strangers use my house? Rebecca was sputtering, trying to find words. You can't, this is. Actually, I can, I said, it's my house? My name on the deed, my decision who gets to use it. We already paid for this vacation, Mark said. We took time off work. We bought a new car for the trip, Dad added desperately. We don't have money for a hotel. Again, I said, sounds like a you problem. Rebecca finally found her voice. You're being selfish and vindictive. We're your family. No, I said firmly, you made it very clear that I'm not your family. You can't have it both ways, Rebecca. I started to close the door, but Rebecca lunged forward. You can't do this. You're ruining our entire vacation. By now, I said, and shut the door firmly. They stood outside pounding and yelling for another 10 minutes. Rebecca was crying about how I'd ruined everything. Jessica was calling me names I won't repeat. Dad kept pleading with me to be reasonable. Finally, I heard their cars start up and drive away. I immediately called Lisa. Coast is clear. Come on up. Are you serious? You actually did it? I actually did it, and it felt amazing. By evening, all 6 of my friends had arrived, and we were having the time of our lives. We grilled burgers on the deck, went swimming in the lake, and stayed up late drinking and laughing. It was the best vacation I'd had in years. The next week was absolutely perfect. My friends and I spent every day on the lake, swimming, boating, fishing, just enjoying ourselves. We had barbecues on the deck every night, played cards until late, and I felt more relaxed than I had in years. This was what family was supposed to feel like, people who actually wanted to be around you, who enjoyed your company, who didn't make you feel like you were walking on eggshells. Lisa kept saying it was the best vacation she'd ever had. Your family are idiots for not appreciating this place, she said on our last night, gesturing toward the lake. And for not appreciating you. I ended up staying at the house for 2 full weeks instead of the original 10 days. I had the vacation time saved up, and honestly, I didn't want to leave. Being there reminded me why I loved the place so much, and why I'd been stupid to let my family use it whenever they wanted while barely using it myself. When I finally drove back to the city, I felt like a completely different person. Stronger, somehow, more sure of myself. There was a letter waiting in my mailbox when I got home. My heart sank when I saw Rebecca's handwriting on the envelope. I opened it, and it was exactly what I expected. 3 pages of her telling me how selfish and cruel I was, how I'd ruined their entire vacation, how disappointed she was in me. The last paragraph was the real kicker. I expect you to apologize for your childish behavior. Until you do, we will not be speaking to you. Consider yourself removed from this family. I actually laughed out loud. Removed from the family? Like that was some kind of threat? I sat down at my computer and typed back a short email. Rebecca, I'm not apologizing for anything. I don't want to communicate with any of you anymore anyway. Have a nice life. I sent it and immediately blocked all their phone numbers. Dad, Rebecca, Jessica, Sarah, everyone. They tried calling from other numbers over the next few days, but I hung up as soon as I recognized their voices. Rebecca even had some friend call me, but I hung up on her too. I was done playing games. About a month later, I was leaving work when I saw Dad standing by my car. He looked terrible, tired and older somehow. Anna, please, can we talk? I almost kept walking, but something in his voice made me stop. What do you want, Dad? Can we get coffee, please? We went to the little cafe across from my office building. Dad ordered coffee but didn't touch it. I got tea and waited for him to talk. I'm sorry, he said finally. I'm so sorry, Anna. I was weak, and I let Rebecca push you away, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Why now? I asked. What changed? He rubbed his face with his hands. The whole vacation was a disaster. Rebecca and the girls spent the entire time complaining about you, about how you'd ruined everything. They were miserable, and they made sure I was miserable too. And I kept thinking about how wrong we were to treat you that way. You kept thinking, or Rebecca told you to come find me? Dad winced. She doesn't know I'm here. She's still furious with you. But I can't live like this anymore, Anna. I miss my daughter. You chose them over me, I said quietly, over and over again. I know, And I'm asking you to give me a chance to make it right. I stirred my tea, thinking. Part of me wanted to forgive him immediately, but I wasn't ready for that. Too much had happened. I need time, I said finally. I'm not ready to forgive you yet. You really hurt me, Dad. You betrayed me. I understand, he said. Take all the time you need. And I'm not dealing with Rebecca or her daughters. If you want a relationship with me, it's going to be just us. I'm done with them. Rebecca said she realizes she was too harsh with you. I don't care what Rebecca says, I interrupted. I don't believe her, and I don't want her in my life anymore. Dad looked sad but nodded. Okay. Just us, then. Maybe we can meet for coffee sometimes, I said. Neutral territory. See how it goes. I'd like that. We finished our coffee, and when Dad hugged me goodbye, I actually hugged him back. It wasn't the same as before. There was still hurt there, still anger, but it was a start. Driving home, I realized something. I felt lighter without all the family drama. I didn't have to worry about Rebecca's passive-aggressive comments or walking on eggshells around my father's new family. I could just be myself. I called my realtor friend Carmen that night. Remember when you said you could help me find a place to buy? Of course, you ready to start looking? Yes, and I have another question. Could I rent out my lake house? Like, to vacation renters? Absolutely. Lake properties are huge right now. You could probably get really good money for it, especially in summer. Perfect. Send me whatever paperwork I need. I hung up feeling excited about the future for the first time in months. I was going to buy my own place in the city, somewhere that was completely mine. And I was going to turn the lake house into an income property instead of letting my family treat it like their personal vacation home. Over the next few weeks, I started looking at condos and small houses. I met Dad for coffee twice, and while things were still awkward between us, they were getting better. He was trying, at least, and that meant something. Carmen found 3 families who wanted to rent the lake house for the summer. The money would more than cover my mortgage payments on whatever place I bought. One evening, as I was looking through real estate listings on my laptop, I realized I was genuinely happy. I had good friends, a job I liked, and now I was going to have my own place. I didn't need my father's approval or Rebecca's acceptance to have a good life. My phone buzzed with a text from Lisa, missing the lake house. When can we go back? I smiled and typed back, anytime you want, it's mine, remember? And for the first time since Mom died, I felt like I really knew what that meant, mine. My house, my life, my choices. No one else got to decide what I deserved or where I belonged. I was finally free to build the life I actually wanted, and it felt amazing.